Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to watch the video today. Always very grateful to have you guys around. We're going to be talking about fishing on windy days. I want to give you guys sort of some advanced theory, advanced techniques on fishing on those days where the wind is blowing sustained like 15 to 25 miles an hour, which you're going to have days like that. If you fish regularly, can't avoid it. Sometimes it can be a really good thing, sometimes not so good. So we're going to go over sort of all the scenarios and give you guys some tips and advice on catching them on those windy days. Also, guys, just a quick invitation, just like to invite everybody, please swing by and check out all the good fall sales that Tackle Warehouse has right now. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. If you guys are looking forward to getting stocked up for fall fishing or wanting some Christmas gifts, now's a good time to do it. If you use that link that I put in the description, it's a good way to support the channel. And also, please, I'd like to invite you guys to consider subscribing here to Intuitive Angling. It's free and easy. Just hit that subscribe button and you'll never miss a video. So I really appreciate that. Now, wind is a reality of fishing. It's like when you're fishing, if you fish over a period of time, you're going to encounter a lot of different weather conditions. And I remember my dad told me, he never didn't understand why I wanted to go fishing when it was nasty out. It's like, if it was raining out, he goes, Randy, why do you want to go fishing? It's raining. Or Randy, why do you want to go fishing today? The wind's blowing 20 miles an hour. And you can't just fish on nice days all the time because, you can't really pick and choose, especially if you're in a tournament. So you're going to encounter those days where it's windy and the wind's blowing 15 to 20 mile an hour. And, that's just what you have to deal with. Now, one thing I want to say right off the bat is that wind is usually always good. It's like, even in colder water, wind can activate the fish and make them more aggressive, especially in more shallow water areas, although wind can have an impact on deeper water too. Because a couple different things that wind does is wind will not only break up the surface of the water, and when the surface is actually disturbed and broken up, it sort of acts like the same type of deal on a lower light intensity day or fishing at night, because bass can't simply see as well when they're looking up above. So it allows the fish to make more mistakes. And there's something about the current that is generated by wind, because when you have wind, depending upon the intensity of the wind, it creates a definite current throughout a body of water. So you've got this combination of it creates moving water and it creates a lower light intensity. It usually just makes the fish bite better anytime it's windy. So look at that as a positive. If you have windy days, always look at it as a positive. Now, here's some things to remember when you're fishing on windy days. First of all, one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make is they try to fish into the wind. And you should never do that unless you're casting at one specific target. Now, let's say you found a brush pile in 10 foot of water. And you're casting just to that one particular target, you may have to turn around facing the wind because you're just going to drift over it too fast if you come with the wind. But unless I'm fishing a specific isolated target like that, I always go with the wind. This is one of the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Is I see a lot of people out there is they'll get on a windy bank, like a windy rocky bank, and they'll try to fight their way into the wind. You don't want to do that. People have this misconception that you have to throw into the wind or into the current to get the lure to come down current or downwind because the fish are facing into the current or the wind. That's another myth. It's like bass are not victims of the current and the wind to the extent that you think they are. If the current is super, super hard, like in a river, they're going to get into those current breaks, but they're still not going to be facing into the current all the time. That requires too much energy. Bass like to relate to current breaks and wind breaks that are created by different objects in the water. So by fishing with the wind, it accomplishes a lot of different things. Number one, it allows you to be quieter, because if you're drifting with the wind, you're not using your trolling motor near as much because you're just adjusting the course of the boat. You're not really using it much to really go forward. This makes a huge difference. Think about it, guys. If you're fishing down a rocky bank and you're drifting down that bank with the wind, say you got a 15, 20 mile an hour wind, all you're doing is hitting that trolling motor occasionally to keep it straight, versus if you turned around and you were facing into the wind where that trolling motor is buzzing all the time, 100% of the time, think how much noisier that's going to be to the fish as far as turning those and making those fish less aggressive. That's a big deal. The next thing with it is your casting presentation. It's like your casting presentation is severely affected if you try to cast into a heavy wind, because not only you can't cast as far, but your line doesn't lay as natural. You're not going to get the depth. You're not going to get the length out of the cast. So by casting with the wind, your bait makes a lot more natural presentation. You can make a longer cast. You can get your bait deeper. You can control your cast a lot better by casting into the wind or even into a 45-degree angle into the wind. So from those two standpoints, I always fish into the wind. And if you think you're going too fast over an area, just fish down through an area, crank up and make another pass down through it if you don't think that you covered everything. But I can tell you right now, you will catch a lot more fish if you learn to fish into the wind than you will anything else. Now, as far as the best times to fish in the wind, it has been my experience that it has really more to do with the water clarity than the water temperature. It's like, I fish all year long here in Missouri, guys, and I fish on days where you got 40-degree water temperatures and days you got 90-degree water temperature. And to me, the fish are always more active, and they're more activated to bite on those windy days if you have cleaner water. So if you have water visibilities of over about 3.5 feet, 3.5 feet and greater, that's a really positive thing, even if the water's cold. It doesn't matter if the water's cold or warm or whatever. Clear water and wind is an important factor, and wind becomes less of a factor in dirty water conditions. It's like as you get stained, dirty, muddy, like say down to a foot visibility, 6-8 inches of visibility, wind becomes a negative, because a lot of times wind will stir up that particulate in dirty water, because dirty water has a lot more particulate in it. It makes it even dirtier. It makes the fish, it makes it even more difficult for them to see in an already difficult situation. So, I don't really care what the water temperature is. I don't want to fish in a lot of wind when I'm fishing in dirty water. So if I'm fishing in dirty water, doesn't matter the time of the year, I always look for those areas that are protected from the wind a little bit, that you don't have a lot of wind hitting it. And then vice versa, if I'm fishing really clear water, I look for those areas, that are getting a lot of wind to it. Another thing with it, guys, is wind. When you have a strong wind day, 15 to 20 mile an hour wind, your moving baits are always going to be better. Your power fishing baits, like your spinner baits, your crank baits, your chatter baits, glide baits, swim baits, anything that you can reel horizontal to the water column, it's usually a little bit more productive. Not to say that you can't catch them on the bottom, but a lot of times the wind will really activate those fish to chase a reaction lure, especially if you have some low light conditions combined with it. So main thing, guys, is just don't avoid it. If you get into a situation where you have some clear water and, doesn't matter what time of the year, just get out there and try to fight that wind. If you can't stand up, get a butt seat or something to sit down in. But some of the best days I've had bass fishing have become on those really windy days. Don't let it be a negative to you. Just get out there and, just deal with it, take advantage of it, use it to your advantage, and that really helps out. So talk later.